You wake up, grab your phone, and check social media. You feel free to choose what to consume, what to like, what to share. But what if I told you that this feeling of freedom is actually the most sophisticated form of control ever created by humanity? What if the very idea that you're in command of your life was a carefully constructed illusion? Welcome to the world of psychopolitics, where freedom has become the most powerful tool of domination. Today, we're going to dive into the revolutionary ideas of philosopher Byung-Chul Han and discover how we became voluntary prisoners of a system that makes us believe we are free.
Byung-Chul Han is one of the most important thinkers of our time. Born in South Korea and based in Germany, he has managed to capture with surgical precision the spirit of our age. It's no wonder his books have become worldwide bestsellers. He can explain why we feel simultaneously free and imprisoned, connected and isolated, productive and exhausted. Han isn't just another academic philosopher talking about abstract concepts. He is the diagnosis of our era. When you finish this video, you'll start to see invisible patterns that govern your daily life. You'll understand why you feel tired even when you shouldn't, why anxiety has become epidemic, and why depression is the disease of the 21st century. But before we dive into psychopolitics proper, we need to understand what has changed. We need to understand why the old methods of control no longer work, and how something much more subtle and efficient emerged. To understand the present, Han first takes us to the past. He shows us how disciplinary power worked, the kind that Michel Foucault masterfully described. It was power based on prohibition, external surveillance, punishment. Think of 19th century factories with their supervisors, rigid schedules, punishments for tardiness, or traditional schools with their inflexible rules and physical punishment. This system worked, but it had clear limits. You knew when you were being controlled. The boss was there, watching you. The teacher was at the front of the classroom, monitoring. Resistance was possible because power was visible. You could rebel, you could strike, you could protest. Disciplinary power inevitably created counterpower. But something changed dramatically in recent decades. Han identifies a fundamental transformation. We moved from disciplinary society to performance society. And here's the key to everything. In this new society, we are no longer obedient subjects. We have become entrepreneurs of ourselves. Think about it. When you post a photo on Instagram, no one is forcing you. When you work late because you want to grow in your career, no one is compelling you. When you take that online course on weekends to develop yourself, it's your choice, right? This is the genius of psychopolitics. It makes us work for our own shackles, believing we are building our freedom.
Han has a devastating phrase. The performance subject is faster and more productive than the subject of obedience. But freedom is not the opposite of coercion. Coercive freedom is more fatal than coercion because no resistance is possible against it. Let's unpack this. In disciplinary society, there was a clear division. On one side, the dominators, on the other, the dominated. Today, this division has disappeared. We are simultaneously dominator and dominated, exploiter and exploited, master and slave. And most disturbingly, we do this voluntarily with a smile on our faces. Observe your own behavior. How many times did you check your phone today? How many times did you feel anxious about not getting enough likes on a post? How many times did you blame yourself for not being productive enough? No one is forcing you to do this. You do it because you want to, because you chose to. But did you really choose? Psychopolitics operates exactly in this blind spot. It doesn't prohibit us from anything. On the contrary, it encourages us to do everything. Be authentic, be yourself, realize your dreams, optimize your life. Be happy. And we, poor mortals, chase after these imperatives like hamsters on a wheel, believing we are walking somewhere. The result? A society of people who are exhausted, depressed, and anxious, but who cannot identify what is oppressing them. After all, how can you rebel against something that supposedly is your own desire? One of the most frightening aspects of psychopolitics is how it transforms transparency into a form of violence. Han observes that we live in the transparency society, where everything must be visible, measurable, optimized. Your purchases are tracked, your tastes are cataloged, your movements are mapped, your relationships are quantified. But here's the trick. All of this is presented as convenience, as personalization, as freedom of choice. Netflix's algorithm knows what you like. Google anticipates your needs. Facebook connects you with like-minded people. Aren't these wonderful services? Actually, they are surveillance systems more sophisticated than any dictatorship ever dreamed of having. The difference is that you voluntarily provide all the information. You post your location, your photos, your thoughts, your moods. You check in to places you visit, rate restaurants where you eat, review products you buy. And most perversely, you feel bad when you don't do this. Took a beautiful photo and didn't post it? It feels like the experience wasn't complete. Went to a nice restaurant and didn't leave a review? You missed an opportunity to help the community. Transparency has ceased to be a choice and become a moral obligation. Han realizes that this total transparency eliminates something fundamental to human experience: mystery, intimacy, the possibility of being different from what you appear to be. When everything is on the surface, when everything is performance, when everything is optimized, what remains of the human soul?
If you think things can't get worse, Han shows another devastating aspect of psychopolitics: the imposition of happiness. We live in a society that not only allows us to be happy, it obliges us to be happy. Unhappiness has become a moral failure, a sign that you're not trying hard enough. Think about the language of our time: positive thinking, gratitude, mindfulness, well-being, quality of life, personal fulfillment. All of this sounds wonderful, doesn't it? But Han shows how these concepts have become tools of control. If you're unhappy, it's your fault. If you're anxious, it's because you're not practicing mindfulness properly. If you're dissatisfied with your job, it's because you haven't discovered your passion yet. The result is a society of people pretending to be fine all the time. Social media has become a showcase of manufactured happiness. Everyone is always living the best moment of their life, always grateful for everything, always focused on goals. Anyone who dares to admit they're not well is quickly bombarded with advice on how to change their mindset. But here's the crucial point Han identifies. This obsession with individual happiness makes us completely blind to structural problems. If everyone should be individually happy, no one questions why society as a whole is getting sick. Depression becomes chemical imbalance. Anxiety becomes personality disorder. Burnout becomes imposter syndrome. Psychopolitics has achieved the feat of transforming social symptoms into individual problems. And so each person is left alone trying to solve problems that are actually collective. Han coined a term that perfectly captures the spirit of our age, the burnout society. But it's not just any fatigue, it's a specific tiredness, a weariness that doesn't go away with rest, an exhaustion that reaches the soul. Why does this happen? Because in performance society, we have become our own overseers. There are no more work hours. You work all the time, even when you're not working. Your mind is always active, always optimizing, always thinking about the next step. You are simultaneously the worker who produces and the boss who demands results. And the worst part? You can't even complain, because supposedly you're doing this for yourself. You're working to realize your dreams, to be successful, to be happy. How can you complain about something you chose yourself? This fatigue manifests in different ways. For some, it's depression, a kind of strike of the soul, an unconscious refusal to continue producing. For others, it's anxiety, the constant fear of not doing enough. For many, it's burnout, the total exhaustion of those who tried to be optimal at everything. Han shows that these are not individual diseases, but symptoms of a social system. They are the ways our psyche finds to resist the impossible imperative of always being productive, always positive, always optimized. So, is there a way out? Han is not a naive optimist, but points to some possible directions. The first is to develop what he calls the art of living slowly. In a world that forces us into constant acceleration, slowness becomes a revolutionary act. This means recovering experiences that Psychopolitics wants to eliminate. Creative idleness, contemplation without purpose, conversation without goal, silence without content. It means resisting the imperative to optimize every moment of your life. Another form of resistance is to develop critical awareness about your own desires. When you feel like posting something, pause and ask, is this desire really mine, or was it programmed? When you feel guilty for not being productive, question, where does this guilt come from? But the most important resistance, according to Han, is collective. We need to stop treating social problems as individual failures. We need to understand that our exhaustion is not personal weakness, but a symptom of a sick system. And only by understanding this can we begin to imagine alternatives. Byung-Chul Han's Psychopolitics shows us something disturbing. We live in an era where freedom itself has become a form of oppression. But this diagnosis is not cause for despair. It's the first step towards genuine liberation. Once you see the matrix, you can't unsee it. Once you understand how psychopolitics operates, it loses part of its power over you. And this is just the beginning of a fascinating journey towards true autonomy. If this video made you think differently about your own life, if it made you question some of your choices, then Han achieved what he intended, awakening your critical consciousness. And that, perhaps, is the most powerful form of resistance in an age of invisible control. Real freedom isn't doing what you want, it's wanting what you truly chose. And for that, you first need to understand how your desires are manufactured. This is Byung-Chul Han's most valuable lesson for our time.